All right, let's dive right into this explainer. We're looking at a fantastic piece of writing called Mastering the Art of Purposeful Retirement, which is essentially a masterclass in designing the next major phase of your life. So often we hear people say they simply have no idea what to do with themselves once they finally stop working. It's like a giant puzzle they don't have the picture for. Well, today we are going to fix that and transform retirement from this daunting expanse of empty time into a highly intentional canvas.
9,000. Just think about that number for a second. If you retire at 60 and live to 80 or 85 without any major health issues, you are suddenly handed this massive deposit of roughly 9,000 days. And these days are completely 100% at your disposal. It is a staggering block of time. But here's the catch. Without a real blueprint, that sheer volume of absolute freedom can actually become incredibly overwhelming. There's a really fascinating observation in the source material about how retirees actually talk about their time. At a get-together of retired employees, almost everyone was talking about how they were spending their time. Just killing time with mundane bank runs, going to the market, or just watching endless hours of TV. That is the central trap right there. Merely spending time rather than actively utilizing it. Utilizing time means diving into dormant hobbies, doing meaningful social work, planning intentional travel. It's the literal difference between just letting the clock run out and actually building a fulfilling life. So, to solve this, we're going to walk through an architectural framework that unrolls exactly how to budget and build these pillars of freedom. We'll cover the 9,000 Days Canvas, your health and socializing foundation, the concept of Shreya versus Preya, building your core blueprint, travel and giving back, and finally, a purposeful conclusion. Starting with Section 1, the 9,000 Days Canvas. Let's lay this out and understand the massive shift in how our time is governed. It's a total paradigm shift. Think about it. For decades, during your working life, your schedule was completely dictated by someone else. Your company, your boss, your project deadlines. But now, absolute freedom. You are the sole architect of your daily budget. Now, that sounds incredibly liberating, right? But the reality is, it requires careful, deliberate planning that most of us just completely forget to do. Move into Section 2, Foundation, Health, and Socializing, because before we can construct the fun rooms of this blueprint, we absolutely have to pour the mandatory bedrock. A common thread that absolutely needs to run through all your retirement activities is getting involved in social groups. The data shows, plain and simple, that people who are highly social lead healthier, happier, and much longer lives. Face-to-face community is an absolute requirement. You have to make a conscious effort to physically meet people. Don't just rely on Facebook or WhatsApp scrolling. Actually go to get-togethers, invite people over without a rigid agenda, keep the TV turned off, and just focus on sharing experiences and good food. Now, for your physical foundation, there's a fantastic, super practical method suggested here. You don't need a strict, rigid office schedule anymore, but you should open a digital tool like a lifetime Google Calendar, plug in your fitness activities, whether that's a morning walk, swimming, yoga, or playing a sport, and let it prompt you daily. It is wild how high the tendency to procrastinate exercise is when you literally have nothing else you have to do, isn't it? You have to ruthlessly pursue these implementations, because honestly, the problem is rarely knowing what to do, the problem is actually doing it. Section 3, Shreya versus Preya. Let's look at the daily battle and how ancient philosophy directly applies to our modern morning routines. The Bhagavad Gita outlines these two incredibly relevant concepts. Shreya, meaning what is genuinely good for us, and Preya, meaning what we just like or crave in the moment. It is amazing how easily we fall victim to Preya once we retire. Think about it. How often do you wake up and just crave sitting in bed, reading the morning paper with tea, checking WhatsApp, or zoning out to the morning news? That is Preya. Meanwhile, Shreya, your scheduled morning walk, gets completely neglected. Recognizing this exact battle between what's good for you and what you crave is absolutely essential for mastering those 9,000 days. Section 4, Building the Core Blueprint. The foundation is poured, so it's time to put up the structural walls. These are the main pillars of your daily life. And the best part is, you can totally mix and match these based on your health, your financial situation, and what you actually like doing. You might choose to earn some money on the side through consulting, then there's entertainment, catering to family needs, and unearthing those dormant hobbies. Let's optimize a few of these specific pillars, shall we? Entertainment is a huge one, and there's a brilliant point made here about it. If you actually track the news in any newspaper or on TV, like 90% of it is just pure negativity. Politics, accidents, gossip. That continuous hammering of endless TV news debates literally drains your mental and physical health. The author even mentions a friend who spent 4 hours a day trading shares simply to time pass. Honestly, a way better strategy is to carefully curate your entertainment. Subscribe to a streaming platform like Netflix or Amazon Prime for a month, watch high-quality shows or movies, and just put it on auto-cancel mode. Isn't that a much healthier deal for your brain?
Now, when it comes to the family pillar, here is a profoundly simple but incredibly effective tip, especially if you're caring for elderly parents. Write your family travel agendas or the dates when the grandkids are visiting on a whiteboard 2 months in advance. Declaring those plans well in advance completely breaks up the monotony of routine life. It gives everyone something positive to look forward to, filling their months with positive vibes and happy anticipation. It's a real game changer. All right, Section 5, Travel and Giving Back. Now we reach the most expansive parts of the blueprint, exploring the world and contributing to it.
You can actually travel extensively on a pretty tight budget by utilizing some brilliant hacks. For example, the author traveled to Switzerland, which is notoriously expensive, and spent only around 1,800 rupees a day by staying in backpacking hostels with kitchen access. You can use couch surfing to stay for free and swap cultural recipes. You can use the WWOFF network to stay on a Swedish or Spanish organic farm, getting free food and lodging just for doing some gardening work. Get this, you can even stay in Tibetan monasteries or Italian churches for free, simply in exchange for an hour of compulsory prayer. The world is incredibly accessible if you just plan a little creatively.
The data on global wealth is kind of staggering when you think about it. If you have enough comfort to even consider retiring, you are likely highly privileged. In fact, if you are middle class in India or above, you are sitting in the top 10 to 15% of the 8 billion world population in terms of income. And with that immense privilege comes a real duty to give back and help the underprivileged.
But hey, social work doesn't just mean making grand donations to massive charities. It starts way smaller, with a baseline philosophy in your daily life. It means not arguing over pennies with the poor vegetable vendor. It means stopping yourself from asking for the 2 rupees change back from the auto rickshaw driver when the meter reads 18. Letting go of small change costs you almost nothing over a lifetime, maybe 5,000 rupees total, but it leaves you and the world around you so much happier.
So, what about filling the rest of your 9,000 days with hobbies? You know, Malcolm Gladwell famously stated in his book Outliers that it takes 10,000 hours to master a skill. To hit that, you'd have to practice 3 hours a day for 7 straight years. But guess what? Forget mastery. Seriously, toss that idea right out the window. Retirement is absolutely not about becoming a master. It's about pursuing dormant hobbies simply for the joy they bring. The author, for instance, spends 3 hours every Wednesday singing old Hindi songs in a karaoke group. He paints in watercolor and acrylic, just experimenting. He grows tomatoes and 6 varieties of flowers and potted plants on a Mumbai balcony. The whole point is the thrill of switching your brain from your logical, working left brain to your artistic, creative right brain.
And finally, Section 6, a purposeful conclusion. Let's wrap up this explainer by stepping back and looking at the final picture this blueprint creates.
By combining a rock-solid social foundation, ruthless, healthy habits, carefully curated entertainment, budget-savvy travel, and joyful, non-competitive hobbies, you are building an incredible architecture for your days. You can pretty much guarantee a long, happy life filled with purpose by simply deciding to prioritize what you actually like and then actively going for it.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought as you begin to draft your own timeline. You have this incredible, massive gift of time waiting for you. The blueprint is right there in your hands. Are you going to just spend those 9,000 days, or are you actually going to utilize them?